So you're eating clean. You've cut out junk food and have been loading up on grilled chicken, rice, and veggies, but the gains aren't showing up. You're still not building muscle like you've expected to. And when you're trying to diet down, the fat isn't coming off like it should. Why? Because eating clean simply isn't enough. And in some cases, it's the reason why you're stuck. When I first started to bulk up, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I thought all I needed to do was just slam a protein shake and eat some chicken breast, and after a workout, my muscles would magically just balloon up. I thought clean eating meant results. But the body doesn't reward food quality alone. It responds to the correct amount of energy in versus energy out, the correct macros, and then constantly repeating those actions for results. Once I realized that, my gains skyrocketed. In this video, I'm exposing the 5 biggest mistakes about how eating clean could be killing your gains, and then teach you how to correct them. You'll learn why your healthy diet might be a detriment to your success, how to use food correctly as a tool to grow, and then the difference between clean eating for the sake of it and effective eating for building muscle and losing fat. And if you want a surefire way to make sure that the foods that you've invested into are being implemented properly to maximize your results, be sure to download my free guide, Calculate Your Way to 10 Pounds of Muscle Within 90 Days, with the link in the description below. Let's get started. Mistake number 1 is thinking that healthy foods automatically make you gain more muscle. During my first bulk, I thought I was doing everything right. I was eating clean protein, clean carbs, minimally processed food. But after months of clean eating, I stayed exactly the same. I wasn't getting any bigger. I wasn't getting any stronger. Why would this be the case? That's because I was under eating. I wasn't hitting my calorie goal. Healthy food isn't always calorie dense, and if you're not eating enough, your body simply won't have the resources to facilitate new muscle growth. You need to be in an active calorie surplus to gain muscle. For most people, that means at least 200 to 300 calories above maintenance. You don't need any more than that. And I'm not saying the solution is to just eat whatever you want. Don't do that, because you'll most likely end up gaining more fat than you would have otherwise and have to spend more time in the future dieting it off. But what I'm trying to say is that if it's late in the day and you're still a few hundred calories off from your goal, instead of trying to force feed a bunch of chicken breast just to get a few hundred calories, try more calorie dense foods instead. Examples of this would be healthy fat-based foods like avocados, nuts and nut butter, and olive oil. Fats contain 9 calories per gram instead of the 4 calories per gram that carbs and proteins contain, therefore making them more calorie dense. And if you're looking for a healthier option to be able to eat more calories without going overboard, I highly recommend sticking to these healthier fats. You'll end up eating the same amount of calories with less food, as opposed to trying to force feed something like grilled chicken salad without having to eat as much in the process. And the best part about this is it won't compromise your diet if done correctly. Once again, make sure that you're only eating 200 to 300 calories above maintenance. Anything more will result in excess fat gains regardless of what you're eating. But what stops guys from doing this in the first place? Aren't fats supposed to make you fat? That leads us to our next mistake: avoiding fats because they make you fat. A lot of guys fear fat because of the stigma behind it. The word itself has a negative connotation due to the correlation of our usage of the term body fat. I specifically avoided anything that I deemed to be fattening, and had no idea that this calorie-dense macro was the difference between transforming my physique and staying exactly where I was at the time. So healthy fats, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, are actually essential for building muscle. Now, examples of these foods include avocados, nuts, oils, eggs, and fatty fish. Again, they're calorie dense, but that's a good thing when your goal is to build muscle. Fats also support hormones, including testosterone, and help you hit your calorie goal without having to overeat carb sources or protein sources. Roughly 25 to 30% of your daily calorie intake should come from fats, and I guarantee you it's often the missing piece for most lifters when it comes to gaining muscle, especially for people that claim to be hard gainers. And once you realize that healthy foods aren't enough and fats aren't the enemy, how do you put all of that together? So the next mistake I see tons of people make is not weighing your food and simply just estimating your portions. This is one of the biggest traps that beginners fall into, including myself. You could be eating healthy, hitting all your macro goals, and prepping your meals, but you're still not gaining any weight. Unless you're weighing out your food and then tracking your intake, you're simply just guessing. Most people underestimate what they eat when they're cutting and overestimate what they eat when they're bulking. This applies to overeating as well. Not only could you be killing your gains by not eating enough, but you could also be killing your gains by eating too much. Sure, you'll be gaining the same amount of muscle whether you eat 200 calories above maintenance or 700 calories above maintenance, but the difference is how much fat that you gain. Let's be real, nobody wants to get fat while they're trying to get in shape. It's just counterproductive and looks and feels terrible. If you're not weighing your food, you'll have no idea how far off you are from maintenance unless you're weighing yourself every week. Even then, it's hard to keep adjusting just off guesswork. You need a plan of action. The difference between 200 calories above maintenance and 700 calories above maintenance is just a couple small spoons of peanut butter, some olive oil, and an extra cup of rice. A pound of fat is just 3,500 calories, so eating an extra 500 calories above your goal would yield you an extra pound of fat per week. A pound of fat takes roughly about a week to diet off during a sustainable deficit, meaning that the more fat that you gain, the more time that you have to spend dieting. And then the more time that you spend dieting, the less time that you have to build muscle. If you don't know your numbers, how do you know if you're eating exactly what you need to see results without going overboard? And if you're trying to lose fat, do the same principles apply, or do we have to take a different approach? So just like with people believing that eating healthy is enough to gain muscle, people also make the same mistake with trying to lose fat. Weight loss isn't just about clean food. It's about eating less energy than you burn on a daily basis. You can eat all the chicken, oats, rice, and avocados you want. These are all healthy foods, but if you're in a calorie surplus or a maintenance because of that, you're simply not going to lose any weight. I've coached plenty of clients who've had every excuse in the book why they couldn't lose weight. They think that just burning a couple extra 100 calories a week on a treadmill is enough to put them in a deficit. But when I audited their diet, what I found was super shocking. It turns out most of them were eating relatively healthy, whole foods with minimal junk. Unfortunately, they severely overestimated their maintenance calories and thought a couple light cardio sessions a week would be enough to push them into a deficit. And ironically enough, you could actually lose fat eating nothing but processed foods if your diet is properly locked in and you're in a deficit. Now, I'm not saying you should eat any junk food to lose weight, but don't sit here trying to confuse clean eating with fat loss. It's simply calories in versus calories out. They're not the same. Calories matter more than food labels. And the mistake most people make starts with eating healthy while eating less, but with no context. There is a pretty simple solution though. All you need to do is just estimate your maintenance calories, subtract 500, and then start there. Using the principles that we just learned about weighing your food and hitting your macro goals, apply that deficit, wait a week, and then weigh yourself to see if you've lost any weight. If you haven't lost at least a pound, then you weren't eating 500 calories below maintenance, and you need to continue to lower your calories and reassess to see if you corrected your intake. This entire video, we've talked about eating and how it affects your weight gain or weight loss journey. But what about liquid calories? Are they any different? Our final mistake that we're going to go over today is ignoring liquid calories. Here's the one thing most people overlook. In the morning, you might drink a protein shake with whey, oats, a banana, and honey. During the day, you might drink a green juice, and at night, you might drink a smoothie. You think you've been eating clean, but in reality, you've just consumed over 1,000 calories without realizing it. Liquid calories could easily push you out of a deficit or back into a surplus unintentionally. If you're not tracking them, they'll quickly kill your fat loss or lead to excess fat gain during a surplus. If you're going to use liquid calories for gaining weight or losing fat, you need to weigh each ingredient individually before mixing and consuming them. I've heard plenty of myths that blending foods messes with their absorption and therefore leads to a different amount of calories being absorbed, but there's no reputable study to support those claims. Whether you're blending these foods together or eating them whole, they still retain the same amount of calories and macros as long as you're consuming the entirety of the ingredients after they've been blended. And one more thing, please don't try to use those new AI calorie tracking apps, especially for liquid calories. There's absolutely no context for what you put in there, and you're not going to get an accurate result, no matter how intelligent you think the AI is. Stick to a traditional food scale, and then log your calories accordingly on programs like MyFitnessPal. So if you're tired of guessing your calorie intake and missing out on months of progress, and want to gain muscle as fast as possible without wasting any time, be sure to download my free guide, Calculate Your Way to 10 Pounds of Muscle Within 90 Days. And those are all the mistakes that I wanted to cover today. If you implement all of these solutions into your program, you'll never have to worry about wasting time or wondering if your diet is holding you back from achieving your dream body. Be sure to like, comment with your favorite high-calorie clean food, and subscribe for more Muscle Truth advice. I'll catch you guys on the next one.